Good afternoon. Welcome to San Antonio International Airport. I'm Jesus Saenz, Director of Airports here for the City of San Antonio. Before we begin, Monday's a big day for everybody. Let's take a quick moment of silence to recognize, on Memorial Day weekend here, there's others that have paid more than what we're trying to accomplish here in the City of San Antonio. Let's take a quick couple of seconds in a moment of silence. Thank you for that. We're excited to celebrate that we are one step closer to achieving what we, as a community, have worked together for so long on a nonstop service from San Antonio International Airport to Reagan National Airport. We purposefully did not bring chairs because we want everybody to applaud constantly and continuously. Thank you for that. Yes. Last week, President Biden signed into law House Bill 3935, the Federal Aviation Reauthorization Bill. This bill has many benefits that will improve our overall federal aviation system. But today we are here to highlight a very important and specific benefit to San Antonio: the adding of 5 slots from outside the perimeter rule into Reagan National Airport. Today is possible because of so many individuals, so much tireless efforts of leadership throughout the community, many of which are able to join us here today. I'm going to do my darndest to make certain I don't leave anybody out, but if I do, I apologize. I want to recognize the community partners who continue to show support. First and foremost, Joint Base San Antonio and all of our military partners here in the city of San Antonio. She doesn't need much of a highlight these days because she's been making things happen as well. She's leading the Greater San Antonio SATX, Jenna Saceda Herrera. The Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, led by Mr. Jeff Webster. Thank you so much for being here, sir. The North San Antonio Chamber of Commerce that's here today, Brett Finley. Thank you, sir. The San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, led by Luis Rodriguez. Thank you for being here, Luis. Appreciate it. The South Texas Business Partnership of Visit San Antonio, led by, I can't help but call her Councilwoman Villagran, because she was our councilwoman for a long time. Thank you, Councilwoman. And so many other business community organizations in San Antonio and throughout South Texas, the regional chambers of commerce, our county. I saw a commissioner. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you being here and supporting us as well. This is made possible through so many of our partners and community leaders uniting a pursuit of a nonstop flight to our nation's capital. We have always known that SAT is more than just a transit point. It is an economic generator for our region that supports social and business connections. Part of what makes San Antonio so great is our great leadership. I want to acknowledge the members of our congressional delegation. Please give them a big round of applause. I'm going to introduce them one by one, who have led us to this opportunity, because without their hard work over this past, legislative bill, this would not be where we are today. Starting first and foremost with our U.S. Senator, Mr. Ted Cruz. Thank you, Senator. Our Senator John Cornyn. Our U.S. Representative, Mr. Chip Roy. Thank you, sir, for being here. Our United States Representative, Mr. Joaquin Castro. United States Representative, Mr. Henry Cuellar. United States Representative, Mr. Tony Gonzalez. And United States Representative, Greg Casar. And I believe Toro is here on behalf of Congressman Cuellar's office. Thank you for being here, Toro. This effort is underlined by the continued support by our local elected officials who continue to support San Antonio and our airport in the best way possible. First and foremost, he knocks it out the park every single day. He's been here for this city, Mayor Ron Nirenberg. All of our council members, Councilwoman Kerr, thank you so much. Councilmember McKee Rodriguez, Councilwoman Villagran, Councilwoman Dr. Rocho Garcia, Councilwoman Castillo, Councilwoman Cabello Haverdal, Councilwoman Gavito, Councilman Pelaez, Councilman Courage, and Councilman White. Big round of applause for our council members. I would also like to say thank you to our city leadership led by our fearless city manager, Mr. Eric Walsh, and Deputy City Manager Maria Villagomez, and Assistant City Manager, Mr. Jeff Coyle, for their continued and unwavering belief in the work that we do here every day at this airport. Every day I talk to the team, the 400 plus individuals that make it happen at this airport. How do we judge success? By aircraft taking off and aircraft landing. The second that stops, nothing else really matters at an airport. It's important that aircraft take off and land. With that being said, we have an incredible partner, the United States' largest airline. I want to thank American Airlines, who is represented by Mr. Steve Newman, and their early commitment for partnering with us for the submission of the application that will ultimately result in the long-awaited nonstop service between San Antonio and DCA. Thank you, Steve. Now, I'd like to introduce and invite our fearless mayor, Mr. Ron Nirenberg, to the podium. It's all yours, sir.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me just recognize a couple other people that deserve some mention here. Sally Baserto, who runs our Intergovernmental Affairs office, and our federal lobby team with, of course, our very own San Antonian Walter Cerna, who's been working on this for a very long time. Among others, I know many other people will be mentioned today. Thank you very much, Jesus. I'm standing here proud of our community, coming together as one team, San Antonio, as we do. And this team for SAT in the fastest growing city in the entire United States. That's not a goal, that's an outcome, because we've been building a great city here and people are taking notice and want to join us. The census data shows that our growth by the numbers, but what I'm most proud of is the way that San Antonio is growing. We're continually becoming a more vibrant, more diverse, and we're creating we are creating more and more opportunities for families and for businesses every single day of the year. SAT, of course, is part of that growth. And if you've been watching, we've been having a phenomenal month. SAT is doing an outstanding job of supporting our growth and serving our region. We're ranked number 2 in the nation by the Wall Street Journal among mid-sized airports. And Jesus has got a plan to bring us to number 1. SAT is already number 1 in TSA and Custom Border Protection processing times. And so people know that this is not only a great airport, it's a convenient airport. We've seen an incredible expansion of air service and nonstop flights, including our first nonstop transatlantic flight to Europe, which launched on Friday. And we see this growth here at the airport for 11 consecutive months. Our airport has broken passenger records, further recognizing our region's growth, exemplary customer service, and future opportunities for everyone. It has been a long-term goal, and I was just recalling as a newly minted city council member, one of my first trips to DC, on the top of the agenda was this flight. A long-term goal for our city, for the airport, to secure a nonstop flight between Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. and SAT. We have worked tirelessly together to overcome the restrictions of the Federal Aviation Administration's perimeter rule and give San Antonio, Military City, USA, the same access to our nation's capital as nearly every other major city in the country. So I too want to thank our congressional delegation. And look, bipartisanship is such a precious thing. And when it comes to fighting for San Antonio, we see it on display. And I want to thank our congressional delegation for that, especially Senator Cruz. I was in his office the week of the passage of this bill on the House side. And I got to go down to the House floor and watch Representative Chip Roy speak on behalf of our city. I had dinner later that night with Congressman Castro. The passion of these San Antonio advocates is very clear, and they have one mission, and that is to support this community. And so I want to thank them. When I was in Senator Cruz's office, I saw he showed us the whip list. Everybody heard of a whip list? It's the entire Senate listed out, and all the painstaking phone calls and meetings that he took to explain why Military City, USA needed direct connectivity to Washington Reagan. And so this has been tireless work. Our region is home to more than 80,000 active duty military service members and to thousands of professionals in our thriving intelligence, cybersecurity, health, and bioscience industries. This is Memorial Day weekend. It is a special weekend for our nation, but I will tell you that this weekend is like every weekend in San Antonio. The ground floor for our United States military, the airmen, the medics that get trained all across this country that save lives and protect our democracy, come to San Antonio. They train here in San Antonio, and that's why Memorial Day weekend is such an important time. But it also underscores what we're doing here today, and that is to make sure that the foundation of our nation's military has access and connectivity to our nation's capital. San Antonio's military operations are central to U.S. military training and play a critical role in our national defense. San Antonio, as you know, is home to the largest group of intelligence and cyber professionals outside of Washington, D.C., the home of the only DoD Level 1 trauma facility, and of course, the largest joint base in the entire country. Nonstop access will strengthen our military and economic ties and allow for greater collaboration with federal agencies, military installations, and leading research institutions. I appreciate the support of everyone here. And thank you also, especially to Representative Roy, who had to drive down from Austin. We had to wait a little bit longer because you know how 35 is, but that's exactly why this flight is important. Through the Senator's leadership, the FAA reauthorization bill made it through the Senate with the DCA slot rules intact. Now it's critical to our community that SAT secure one of the 5 routes now available for nonstop access to Washington, D.C. And we are excited. We are beyond excited. We are elated that American Airlines has announced that it is taking the lead in pursuing the flight from SAT to DCA. American Airlines is a smart company. Ongoing community support will be critical to getting this DCA flight to our gates. And so I want to thank all the members of the community who have already stepped up to provide letters of support. To our mayors who are here from the region, we thank you for your additional encouragement. And I encourage the entire community to continue to support this effort. We want to strengthen our coalition to advocate for the access and connectivity that this community so deeply deserves. So thank you all to have made this effort. Thank you all for being here to celebrate. It's now my pleasure to welcome Senator Cruz to the podium.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. We're here to celebrate a tremendous victory for Texas and a tremendous victory for the city of San Antonio. I want to start by commending the people of San Antonio for the strong unity this community has shown fighting for this direct flight to DC Ronald Reagan National Airport. It's the right thing to do, and it's taken a long time getting here. Just last week, President Biden signed into law the FAA reauthorization bill. This was the bill that took months. I was the lead author of it, along with Maria Cantwell, Democrat from Washington State. The two of us drafted the bill together, and it took hundreds and hundreds of hours, many months, working through the committee. We had 3 separate markups in the committee, the first 2 of which came crashing down over battles on issues on which there was disagreement. We ultimately ended up in this bill incorporating on the Senate side amendments from every single senator on the bill, both Republican and Democrat. As it came out of the committee, it passed the committee unanimously. We got every Republican, every Democrat on the committee behind the bill. When it came to the Senate floor, I reached out to the other Senate offices for the senators not on the committee and asked every senator, what are your priorities for your state? What are the priorities that make a difference for your constituents? We ended up incorporating more than 200 priorities from senators across the country, both Republicans and Democrats, into the bill. And that got buy-in in the bill because we were reflecting the needs on the ground. This bill is over a $100 billion bill, making major investments in aviation. Number one, aviation safety. And look, the most important priority on aviation is that we keep passengers safe. Every one of us, when we get on a plane with our families, there's nothing that matters more that you're going to take off and land safely, and you and your kids are going to get where you want to go without mishap. And this bill makes major, major investments in aviation safety. It directs the FAA to hire the maximum number of air traffic controllers. We have a shortage of air traffic controllers right now. That both endangered safety and it leads to delays in travel. That investment's going to make a big difference for the flying public. This bill also invests billions of dollars in technology to improve safety for the flying public. That includes runway sensors to avoid the potential for runway collisions. You know, we've seen in the last couple of years multiple near misses that have been really frightening. Not too far away at Austin's Bergstrom Airport, 2 jets came very close to colliding. A Southwest jet about to take off and a FedEx jet coming down almost landed on top of it. Thankfully, that was averted, but had they collided, hundreds of people would have died that day. So this bill makes major investments in technology to prevent that kind of tragedy from happening in the future. This bill also invests in high technology air traffic control equipment for airports throughout Texas. One of the things I worked to do was expand the number of airports covered by that. So in addition to the larger city airports in Texas, we also have investments in Corpus Christi and Midland, Texas, are getting high technology equipment in their air traffic control as well. And this bill also expands competition, which gives more choices to consumers and lowers prices. And listen, aviation is critically important to the state of Texas. There are hundreds of thousands of jobs in Texas that depend on aviation. We are a major hub for aviation in the United States and all across the world. And this bill is tremendously important for protecting and expanding those jobs. Now let's talk about this flight to and from San Antonio. You know, it was 3 years ago that the mayor and leaders of the San Antonio community came to my office and sat down with me in my office and said, the city of San Antonio is united. We want a flight to Reagan. And they made the case to me on the merits. And I got to say, it was compelling. And they asked me then, they said, will you take the lead? Will you fight to make this happen? And I gave my word then, yes, I will. And we're going to get this done. Ronald Reagan National Airport is the only airport in the country that has the number of flights into and out of it strictly regulated by federal law and capped. And it also has what's called a perimeter rule, which has resulted in San Antonio right now does not have a direct flight to and from. That's not remotely fair. San Antonio, as everyone here knows, is the 7th largest city in America and the fastest growing city in America. San Antonio is Military City, USA. San Antonio has an enormous population of active duty military and also an enormous population of veterans that choose to make San Antonio home. Reagan Airport is right next to the Pentagon. Reagan Airport is right next to Arlington Memorial Cemetery. And the people of San Antonio, if you're going to our nation's capital, Reagan is by far the most convenient airport. It's right next to the city. You want to take your kids up and see the monuments and the museums and visit our nation's capital, the people of San Antonio deserve to do that. Now, I will tell you, and this may sound astonishing, but it is true, the single biggest battle on this bill was this new direct flight from San Antonio to DC Reagan. It was a massive lobbying battle. There were enormous amounts of money spent on the other side trying to prevent this flight. And it was a battle on the floor. Now, let me say, I want to give a testament, number one, to this community. The unity in the San Antonio community behind this flight is remarkable. From the elected officials to the business leaders, to the community leaders, and it was bipartisan unity. This community has been, I would say, a model for how a community can fight for what is right and what needs to happen. But the San Antonio community, there were no dissenting voices. Everyone was unified. This is the right thing for San Antonio. And I will say in Congress, we also saw tremendous bipartisan cooperation in the House and in the Senate. I think it is fair to say there are some issues on which Joaquin and Chip and I don't agree. But this was not one of them. On this issue, we were united, Democrats and Republicans, fighting for the people of Texas, fighting for the people of San Antonio. And that unity was important. Now, I'll tell you, when we went to the Senate floor, as the mayor told you, we had a whip sheet. And so I was talking to every senator, and I'll tell you, it was nip and tuck. It was close. I think if we had ended up having a roll call vote, we would have prevailed on that roll call vote. We had the votes. But at the end of the day, and I will tell you, actually, a member of my team said, you know what, if we have the votes, let's take it to a vote and win. And I turned to the head of my commerce team and I said, you know what? Let me tell you an old principle from litigating cases. If you got the W, sit down and shut up. Take the win and don't screw it up. And at the end of this battle, Texas prevailed. Immediately after we won this fight, creating 5 new slots for direct flights into and out of Reagan Airport, the Senate voted on the bill. The vote on the floor of the Senate for the final bill was 88-4. And by the way, the only 4 no votes were the Virginia and Maryland senators who voted no because of this flight. That was the only issue that caused their dissension. It went to the House. It passed with an overwhelming bipartisan vote in the House. And then President Biden signed it into law. Now, under the terms of the law, the FAA has 60 days from the day that the president signed it into law to award these new slots. So, in less than 60 days from today, San Antonio is going to have a direct flight to and from Reagan National Airport. And I'm here to tell you, I am excited. I am planning to be on that very first flight, getting on that plane and flying back to San Antonio and not having to connect through anywhere but landing right here at the San Antonio Airport. This victory is a great example of who Texans are. We have a reservoir of common sense. We know how to work together in Texas in a way that sadly a lot of Washington has forgotten. And so I want to close the way I opened by just commending the community of San Antonio for the bipartisan unity, for the strength, for the focus. As I said, this was a model for how a community fights for what is right. And it's a great victory for San Antonio and for Texas.
How do you top that? Yeah, we're all done here. We're going to give some time to our congressional members to give a couple of comments. We'll turn it over. Congressman Chip Roy, please come on up, sir.
I have a few things to say, but I want to do something here. We had an event here, a couple of months ago, and Joaquin was put up in the batting order first, and he deferred to me because this airport happens to be my district. So I want to defer to him today because show bipartisanship, and I'll follow him up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, for all of your incredible work. Thank you, Senator Cruz, Congressman Roy, all the other members of the congressional delegation, and also to Jesus and everybody at the airport, all the staff, all the workers, all the employees, the TSA folks, everybody. Thank you so much for all the wonderful work you do day in and day out. I just landed here from Dulles last night at about 8:30 at night. And so on a personal note, I want to say to American Airlines, thank you for saving me from the tram at Dulles, the mile walk, the Chipotle at BWI, for all of it. Thank you so much. I think the whole city of San Antonio will be grateful. But, you know, as Senator Cruz mentioned and the mayor mentioned, ours is the 7th largest city in the country. We're known as Military City USA. And yet our service members don't have a nonstop flight to National Airport right by the Pentagon, directly into our nation's capital. And this will change that. And over the years, I've heard so many families tell me that they've had to pay for a $100 cab ride from BWI, or they got stuck for 10 hours in Dallas or in Chicago or somewhere else on their way on a field trip to Washington, D.C. So this will hopefully finally put an end to that. And so for all of your work, for everything that you'll have all done, to the chambers who went year after year, even well before the FAA reauthorization was up, knowing that it would be up in a few years, for the folks that never quit on this, thank you so much. Best of luck, y'all.
Well, thanks, Joaquin. It has been a team effort. Proud to have worked with the delegation, proud to work with the city, with the mayor, with my former boss, Senator Cruz. And I do want to just give a special shout out to Senator Cruz, who carried the load in making sure this got done from his position over the Senate. This definitively would not have happened without his leadership in the Senate. Now, I'm proud of what we did in the House. I'm proud of the whip effort that Joaquin and I were able to do. We were able to get, I think, almost 200 votes in favor of the slots against a lot of lobbying from the Virginia delegation and the Maryland delegation, which set the stage for getting the bill over to the Senate. And so I'm proud of that work. And I will say I was unfortunately stuck in traffic coming down here from Austin. And this direct flight, I can tell you from personal experience, will help us all out a lot, including me when I'm coming to San Antonio. And I will tell you, funny enough, when I first ran for Congress, when I was elected, one of the first things that happened, I was sitting in a room and I was sitting with Henry and with my predecessor, Lamar Smith, and with Will Hurd. And they looked at me and they said, "Now, have you heard about the direct flight issue?" And I said, well, funny enough, since I was Senator Cruz's chief of staff, I am aware of the direct flight issue. It's obviously something that is front and center for the people of San Antonio. But I do think it's important to give a shout out. They worked tirelessly as well for years. This has been a multi-year effort, and on both sides of the aisle, and to try to get this done. And I want to give a shout out as the former staffer here at the podium to the staff. I've got John Fletcher from my team. I think I see Wrights and Micah from Cruz's team and other staffers that I know and that I recognize at a personal level. Thank all the staff, because you guys are the ones working hard to get it done in the congressional office and the mayor's office and so forth. But we are deeply grateful for all of the unity as Senator Cruz put out. This is such an important thing. I didn't know until a trip a couple of years ago to Fort Sam that the first military flight occurred on Fort Sam. There is a deep and long history in this city in terms of military flights and as well as obviously civilian. One of the first things I was able to do as a member of Congress was go to the service for Dick Cole when he passed away, the last surviving member of the Doolittle raid. We could go through here for hours on the history of this great city in terms of military, aviation, and civilian. So this is another step forward in the journey for a city of 1.7 million people, the 7th largest city. This is long past due. Thank you, American, for joining with San Antonio to get it done. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate everybody here.
Thank you, Congressman. I'd now like to ask Jenna Salceda Herrera, President and CEO of Greater SATX, to come up and say a few words.
Well, good afternoon, San Antonio. I must admit that I am experiencing some deja vu being back here at the airport for another significant announcement. And I just want to say congratulations to Jesus Saenz, the leader of this airport, Jeff Coyle, Eric Wash, Mayor Nierenberg, and the entire City of San Antonio team and SAT for all of your continued success. This is just one additional monumental milestone along your pathway to success. So congratulations. Thank you. I'm like, thank you, Victoria. As you've heard already, we are here to celebrate tremendous progress on securing a nonstop flight from SAT to DCA. And this route has been something that our community, namely the chambers of commerce who are here today, have been advocating for decades. So what's different now? What was different about this effort? Insert Senator Cruz and his team, who muscled that 5-slot amendment into the FAA bill through Commerce Committee, through Senate, and ultimately in partnership with our friends at the House, Congressman Castro and Congressman Roy, who worked together across party lines to make it happen for San Antonio, and I would add for all of South Texas. Now let's also insert Eric Walsh and Jeff Sines, who are running this airport like the business that it is, investing almost $3 billion in the asset, right, to grow and accommodate what our community deserves and what our businesses require. In addition to that, and this might sound simple, but they led with data and they led with storytelling, and they armed us, business leaders, congressional allies, airlines, and the like, with the data to tell the story. We know that DCA is our top unserved domestic market. We know that over 160 folks are traveling from SAT to DCA routinely, having to connect through somewhere else. I bet you that the congressional folks here behind us are about half those statistics. But we know that. And by the way, that doesn't even include Baltimore, and it doesn't include Dulles. So the business case is strong, as you heard from the senator. And speaking of the business case, let's also insert American Airlines. Yes. They are probably the most important player that's here today because they've stepped up. They've leaned in with us to serve the flight. And I can guarantee you, Stephen, this is going to be a successful route for you all at American. And lastly, and maybe most proudly for me, insert local leaders like Wayne Peacock and Craig Boyan, and organizations like USAA, HEB, SWBC, and Silver Ventures, among others, who stepped up big in making direct outreach, not just to our congressional delegation, but to elected leaders from all over the country. As you heard from the senator, we all had a whip list that we were working from. And it took every single person here in San Antonio to step up and support this. And we were very surgical in our outreach, following Sally and following Jeff and everything that they asked us to do. And I am so proud of that work, and so proud that it's being recognized by our congressional delegation, because that's what makes San Antonio unique and different. We rally together. We collaborate better than any other community to get things done. That's what we do in San Antonio, and I'm so appreciative of that. Let me be clear, though, we're not quite done yet. We ultimately will need the Department of Transportation to approve the American Airlines bid to serve SAT. And so the full court press starts now. It starts now. We are going to need every chamber of commerce, every single member, all of our industry associations, all of our elected officials to draft up letters, to make phone calls, maybe text the secretary, cough, cough, Mayor Nirenberg. If you have that relationship, please do it. But this is where the work starts even harder. We've got to step up, ask everyone to step up, send letters, make phone calls, et cetera, working through Sally, working through Jeff. And I saw a letter here today. I think it was from Commissioner Moody. He brought a physical letter to support the bid. There you go. There, how's that, American? How's that? Hot off the press. Look, Team San Antonio, we are on the heels of announcing our inaugural transatlantic flight, increased connectivity into Mexico, historically large projects like JCB, and potentially Toyota's largest investment ever in the San Antonio region. Let's rally together like we do best to formally add this DCA route to that list of wins for our San Antonio region. Thank you in advance.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Jenna. Thank you to everyone. Now, I'm not saying we're saving the best for last, but I made a comment that if aircraft aren't taking off and aircraft aren't landing safely, as Senator Cruz said, then nothing else really matters. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our good friend, our good partner, Mr. Stephen Newman with American Airlines, to come up and say a few words.
Good afternoon, and it's an honor to be here today as we celebrate the partnership between American Airlines, San Antonio International Airport, and the city of San Antonio to secure direct access for San Antonio to the nation's capital's most convenient airport. My name's Steve Newman, and I'm the Vice President of Global Government Affairs at American Airlines. I actually flew in from DC last night, and I had to connect. I'm not sure if you all know, but there is no direct access between, you may have heard that. All joking aside, it's great to be here with Ranking Member of the Senate Commerce Committee, Senator Cruz, Congressman Roy, Congressman Castro, Mayor Nurnberg, and leaders of the San Antonio community. I especially want to thank Senator Cruz for his leadership in the Senate on really important aviation and Texas business issues. The senator showed real bipartisan leadership in passing the FAA reauthorization bill. And on behalf of our CEO, Robert Isom, who happens to be in Annapolis for his son's graduation from the Naval Academy, let me say that we are grateful to Senator Cruz for his partnership and for his support of our industry. Senator Cruz is our home state senator. We're not just based in Texas, but we are committed to Texas, and we're proud to be from Texas. American Airlines serves more airports in Texas than any other carrier, 23. We carry more passengers to and from Texas than any other carrier, about 1,000 daily departures. And we employ more Texans than any other carrier, about 36,000 people across the state as part of our teammates, about 132,000 team members across the country. And we cannot wait to start direct service between San Antonio and DCA. We already connect San Antonio to 7 of our hubs, and we're excited to make DCA the 8th. It is time for Military City, USA to have direct access to DCA. We expect DOT to lay out their application guidelines soon, and immediately thereafter, American is going to submit its application, and that is going to be our only application to serve San Antonio International Airport. Now, our service, of course, is going to provide direct access to DCA for the San Antonio community and provide direct access to San Antonio for the people of DC. But it's also, because of our robust service at DCA, this route is also going to provide important one-stop connection link between San Antonio and the rest of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic parts of the United States on American's industry-leading domestic network. So we're excited about that too. Now, as you've already heard, DOT is already on the clock. They only have 60 days to decide. We're going to formally submit our application soon, but that is just the beginning. This is a team effort. In addition to these outstanding elected officials whose support for which we're grateful and we're going to continue to need, I'd like to thank several of the local organizations who have helped us get this far and who are going to help us get over the finish line. That, of course, includes Jenna and the Greater San Antonio Economic Partnership, Visit San Antonio, the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the North San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, and the South Texas Partnerships. It will take all of us to make this flight a reality. These organizations play an integral role in our ongoing effort to persuade DOT that American Airlines' flourishing hub at DCA and San Antonio are a perfect match. So, in closing, San Antonio is the fastest growing city in the country and home to one of the largest concentrations of military bases in the United States. We are excited to see San Antonio's continued growth and success, and a new nonstop route to Reagan National Airport will unlock endless potential for this area. We look forward to working with each and every one of you to bring direct service to fruition. Thank you, and we're grateful for the chance to be here today.
This concludes our presentation for today. The team behind will make themselves available for any questions you may have for the media. I'd like to thank the entire San Antonio International Airport team, 400 plus members that make it happen day in and day out at this airport, to all of our federal partners that we work with every day, FAA, TSA, and CBP. We don't make it happen, and without our airlines, we don't make it happen. Thank you all for being here with us today. Many blessings to all during this Memorial Day holiday weekend. Thank you.
Anything you need for
It was overwhelming.